Candace Carter Thoughts to Go in English. One more time, Joseph Beuys. I checked, and when I started this channel, I spoke with Beuys very early in 2018. My fifth and my sixth post was about Beuys, and I looked it up again, and I also watched several interviews with Beuys last evening, and became again aware of why Beuys is so important for me. It's because his main theme is relationships. He wants to go into relationships with people, with nature, with animals, with himself, with things that are beyond our normal experience, things that are spiritual. And he does this in a way that is so intense. And the problem at the time, when he was becoming very, very famous, was that people, they couldn't really, would talk about how he uses fat and he uses a piece of felt here. He loved to use felt. They would talk about the material things he uses, but they wouldn't talk about why he uses them. And he was one of the artists that was always willing to explain. If someone asked him, "I don't understand that, can you please help me?" He would talk about his art, in his reasons for what he did, why he planted all those oak trees, why he was in a room with a coyote for a day or two in New York in a gallery, why he used fat and felt, for example. He was not, artists, very seldom that I've met an artist that didn't have something to say, want to pass on, and also spent a long time working on what he did. It looks sometimes very spontaneous, but most of the time, we do a lot of work ahead of time, and then we try, for example, performance to bring in spontaneity. But we know, we have a message. All artists, I don't know any artists that don't have a message. But anyway, this is what I showed you many years, 2018, and I again looked at the performance with the dead rabbit, and he talks about later when they asked him, why did you use this rabbit? The rabbit is for him the symbol of environment and the symbol of what we are doing to environment. Now think about this, this was 1980, what's that, good 4 years ago? And he says, we are not separate from the rabbit. We are not separate. The rabbit for him was also like one of his major organs. It was like part of him. So the rabbit's dead, right? And yet the rabbit is a symbol of reproduction on a major scale. That's why we have rabbits at Easter. And he took this dead rabbit and moved it around and held it up to pictures. He was explaining art. He wanted to explain art to the rabbit, and the rabbit is also, for me, he wanted us to become alive again. And the rabbit, he was explaining to us, you're more dead than alive. People are into materialism and all this stuff, and it's even worse now than it was in the 80s. And he was convinced people have an amazing amount of the ability to create. We are creators. That's why he said every person is an artist. Doesn't mean you're a painter or a sculptor. It means you find something and it has meaning to you and you do it. And you get wider and wider and opener and opener. He talked about erweiterte Wahrnehmung, perception that has been broadened, more perception, becoming more of you. He believed people had this. And he also believed that art was the method, the way to change the world. And I mean, that's was impressive to me. And he was a visioner. He had a vision, and nothing really worked, actually, because his vision, he said, the modern art never got out of its box, its special box of people that like art and all the gallery stuff and all the marketing, and this is the box. And he didn't want the box. He wanted the box to open up for everybody. Now, this didn't happen. I mean, we still have this box. If you ask me, sometimes not even, it's not great, and it's maybe worse than it was at his time. However, if someone has a vision, it's still important, and it may not take place in the person's lifetime. It may not even take place in 50 years later. It may never really totally take place, but it's important that someone comes along and says these things, because it does make a difference, and Beuys did make a difference, and I'm not happy that some of the reporting about him today for his 100th birthday is, it's bashing. I mean, sometimes people need to, if they've got a great individual that they're talking about, they have to make them little, and that's too bad. There's some really stupid stuff going about Beuys right now that he was a Gesamtkonzept. You can't take Beuys away from what he did and what he thought and what he spoke. And he was a visionary. I don't make him into a shaman. I don't make him into a guru. I just say we needed what he had to say. We need it still today. And I don't like it when, we have to make him little, and we have to find little things that we don't like and that we question and blah, blah, blah. I'm glad that most people who have really taken the time to look at Beuys and his Gesamtwerk, his oeuvre and his person, know that this man made a difference in the art scene and will continue to do so. So that's all I wanted to talk about today. I will see you in a couple of weeks, and until then, have a good time. COVID's opening up, yes.